I'm excited that everybody wants to try things out and maybe do it someday. There's a lot to be learned from steering. You get so much more involved in knowing about the things around you, which include your humans, your boat, your wind, your water, your laws, the other boats. So it gives you a radically new sense of what our sport is all about. So there's a few different differences between the blades. One is how big the blade face is. The steer has to work a lot more water by themselves than any other paddler. So they get more opportunity to move water. Second difference is the angle of the bend here. This has less of a bend on a steer blade, more of a bend on a paddle blade. And that's because these folks need to reach a lot in their stroke, right? And they want to get as much forward momentum as possible. This works a lot more of the alongside of the boat's side, so you need to have more surface area connection. Last bit is that you will see that there is tape, rugged tape on the back of the blade. This is actually so it grips alongside of your boat, okay? I'll teach you a little bit about how long the shaft should be, but generally your blades should be about the same length to each other, but notice how much farther up the blade comes and how much shorter the handle is, right? So usually when you're steering or paddling with a steer blade, your hand's all the way down at the top of your paddle face. So those are the main differences. Learning more about steering, this is the quintessential book to read. It is Outrigger Canoeing, The Art and Skill of Steering, written by Steve West. So I would highly recommend you check it out. I will loan it to you if you promise to bring it back. And so just a few real basics of what you might expect in our first moments of steering. You're always going to have a certified steer in your boat as you learn. They're going to help you with steering. They're going to help you with communication to your team. They're going to help you with safety, right? So you don't have to learn that all at once. But you may think that the first thing you learn is all about the steer stroke. Really what you need to learn is that you are the main communicator on your boat. So if you're thinking about all the stuff that you're doing, you also have to be hold the boat! Or draw left! Because you need to have your crew help you do the things that keep your boat safe. I'm going to go into the steer strokes, and then we're going to talk about some of the dynamics. Feel free to get a little closer. So, as you are paddling, one of the things to know about paddling a boat is that this becomes your rudder. If you have OC1, you know what a rudder does. It helps you go left and right. It helps you stay ahead. You are always going to have a rudder on one side of your boat, never on the bottom of your boat. A rudder on the bottom of your boat is the most effective. So what that means is getting your blade underneath your boat turns it more than if you're right alongside of your boat. So a poke stroke is basically when you put your paddle in along the side of your boat, making a rudder. Your blade can be like this and your hands can be like this. Or to get it underneath, you can let go of that top hand and angle it under your boat a little bit more. That's going to be a more aggressive poke than this. Okay? It can be done on both sides. Right? Pokes are most effective when they are about at your knee/thigh region. If you are poking back here, you have less muscle to hold that there against all the force of the water. This is where you have your lat, which connects to your leg. You got all those big paddling muscles right here, right? So this is a very powerful place. This is overextended, right? Okay, so poking near your knee. Just a question. If I'm poked on this side of the boat and headed that way, which way do you think I will turn my boat? Port or to the side of your blade. So it's a nice, simple way to think about it. I need to go left, I poke left. I need to go right, I poke right. Okay? That's going to honestly be your very first stroke. And the whole purpose of your first time out on the river is to do eventually make your S-curve smaller. Okay? Other ways to turn your boat is a draw stroke. So you can draw 90 degrees, where you start out, and you pull in, pushing water under your boat. You can also do a 45-degree draw, right? You notice how 45-degree draw is basically a paddle slide. So if you are not turning very much, you just have some teeny tiny S curves, you can be paddling and then take a draw stroke or two. And then you can go back to paddling. This is a more advanced skill. If I was drawing on this side, which way am I going to turn my boat? Right. What? But it's on the left side. Why am I going right?
Their back end. Yeah.
Yes. You are pulling your back end, right? So that's the way you want to think about draw strokes. Is which way does my back end need to go so that I can get my nose to go elsewhere, right? So I want to pull my back end over to me by going, and then my nose is going to go straight. Let's see. Other stroke that's going to be important to you, especially if you're sitting still or coming up to a dock, is a pride stroke or uni. So I like to get my elbow into my side, my hand just on top of the gunwale, and I pry it away. My hand becomes the pivot point, right? This helps protect my wood blade from the side of the gunwale, right? Because I'm not going to pry on the side of the gunwale. And this, which way will this turn my boat? I'm doing this. I'm pushing my tail this way, so this is going to make me go left, right? So this is pushing my tail, this is pulling my tail, this is turning my nose, okay? I really imagine most of the things you'll do for your first 3 sessions are poke, sit here, watch your boat do things, poke, sit here, watch your boat do things, figure out, wait. This, no, not that side. Right? Because you overcorrected. So that's going to be your first few sessions. When you start to feel more confident with like poking enough that you barely turn, that's the goal. Is to only poke enough that you just slightly get a turn and slightly get a turn. Then you can start practicing these pries while you paddle. They're less effective. So you want to do them with tiny turns. These are for the like major corrections. All right. Any questions about the strokes? I do a lot of modeling with hands off, but there's a lot of people who put hands on. The only classic thing that happens is that you just don't ever think to get your arm out this far. It's uncomfortable, and so you don't get a very strong poke stroke with your hand on. Okay. Cool. Last things that you might want to know about. These boats are 45 feet long. That is about the size of a semi-truck. And like all semi-trucks, we take wide turns. It takes a long time to get the turn initiated, and it also takes a long time to correct the turn. So you are going to have to start thinking about pulling out and putting in before you need to. Okay? So I'm like sighting, watching my nose along a point in the far horizon, and I just turned off it. It's time to hook. If I'm over here, I have missed my opportunity by like 3 strokes. Same with, like, I poked a little bit, and I'm just about starting to see it correct. I'm going to take it out. Because your boat's going to keep drifting. And it's going to just keep going until you hear something. Right? So, be preparatory. Anticipate what's going to come next. The last thing I would say is about this eyesight. It is imperative for you to pick a point in the horizon that you want to keep your nose on. So that when you start seeing it go off, even like, not even 11 to 12 on the clock, right? That's where you want to make
So with pokes, you really want to use that sticky tape on the back side of your paddle and make sure that it sticks to the side of the boat. The water is holding your paddle on the side. Right there I had lost it, so you re-poke. The next is a draw stroke. So this is a 90-degree draw stroke, and we're pushing water under the hull of the boat. If you are trying to move the boat together, you do it all in time. A back paddle is a common paddle stroke that you'll need for navigating into and out of dock spaces. This is a pry stroke or an uni, so you stick your paddle against your hull, and then you use your elbow as a lever so that you don't hit the gunwale with your paddle. You can see that 6 is using the paddle right on the gunwale, so that's going to leave a mark. In sprint turns, you'll have both 5 and 6 helping steer the boat. So this is working in unison to get a much more significant turn. With this significant of a turn, you'll need to use either a draw or a poke in order to stop your turn. So let's watch one of the very first paddles that somebody has. And one nice frame of reference is you can watch the tails tip in comparison to the background in order to see the amount of turning that's happening in the boat. So right now this steers person is using the poke stroke. You can see that they're still trying to figure out when to poke and when not to. You can see that they're starting their turn right now, so they should, and they're trying to draw. That turn was a significant enough turn that it really would have required a poke, and they learned that now when we're already significantly into the turn. And now they poked so long that we're going over the other direction, so they have to do a major poke on the other side to correct it. Now we have some straightness, so a few strokes would have been good at that time. They're still figuring out their top hand, where that should be placed. It should either be on the top of the paddle for quick recovery into a paddle stroke, or it should be off of the paddle. But sometimes we just have to wing it, and that's okay too. So you can see that this person is still trying to figure out when to take their paddle out of the water, because their turns are turning much longer than they're hoping for. See, 5 is helping out. So this is a good model of what your first few times are going to be. You're going to do S-curves. You're not going to paddle much. You're mostly going to be focused on feeling your boat, noticing how long it takes to turn, and that's all good. But one thing to take away from this video is that your draw strokes really only should be reserved for very minor turns. As you can see, they're not very effective when they were doing that. Now we're going to look at the exact same practice, just at the end of it. And this vantage point is really ideal because you can see the white marker in the background and the shaded trees. That's the 10 and 12, or actually 11 to 12 sort of like amount that you should be turning. So when the canoe hits maybe that white point, that's when you want to correct, and then when it hits maybe halfway through that dark patch, that's the other place where you want to correct. And you can see that this steers person has learned enough about how long it takes for the boat to turn to start correcting much more smoothly. And they're starting to integrate pokes into their paddle You can see that their hand placement is much more ideal for having a more fluid paddle stroke in between corrections. And when you can get to this level where you're keeping your boat on point a little bit more seamlessly, you can start to think about which side are you paddling on. So because we zipper, right and left throughout the boat, generally the steers person wants to be opposite of seat 5 because the steers person actually has the power to turn the boat from their own paddling more than any other seat. So I like to try to stay on the opposite side of 5 just because it keeps the boat a little straighter. And these are really nice pokes. They're effective, they're slight, they make the boat move. And those draw strokes actually were very effective, maybe too effective. So this person had to do a poke correct after that draw. So that's yet another thing that you'll be learning as you get better at pokes, is like, when will your draw strokes be effective and when will they be not effective? But this person's getting really good at going in and out of pokes pretty quickly. So we're going to have a moment of a draw stroke not being effective. So you can see that there's already a significant turn on the boat. This draw stroke is not working. The poke would have been nice 3 strokes ago. But there is a really nice moment, like once you get your boat straightened out, it runs straight for a good moment. And sometimes you can get 1 or 2 sides of paddling in as the steers person if you can get that sweet straight spot, and that's when the boat really flies. So always so much to learn, lots more to be told, and have a lot of fun out there.